The air is cold and still, heavy with the scent of smoke and snow, as the final day at Roswaal Manor begins to unfold. Deep inside the archive of forbidden books, where silence has lingered for months and years without change, Beatrice sits alone. Time has passed, yet she remains unmoving, clinging to the same chair, the same space, the same regrets. Her pale fingers trace gently over an empty place on her own arm, as a memory floats up from the depths of her mind, the soft voice of a girl she once loved as family, calling her name with gentle warmth. Ryuzu. The name slips from Beatrice's lips before she realizes it. Her voice trembles slightly as she recalls the painful moment long ago when she extended her hand towards someone she cared for and could not reach them. Even after centuries, she still cannot answer the question that haunted her. What should I have done differently? That regret returns now because she senses something, a premonition that something important is coming. Something that will force her to finally face that painful past she has avoided for so long. Outside the mansion, chaos spreads across the estate. Flames begin to devour parts of the building. The snowstorm rages unnaturally. Demon beasts have crept into the forest, and somewhere inside this burning world, Subaru races through the corridors with Rem in his arms, determined to reach the forbidden archive before Elsa finds him. His body is battered, burned, and bruised from fighting, but every step is driven by desperation and fear. Elsa is relentless. The Bowl Hunter moves through the collapsing mansion with inhuman grace, her violet eyes glowing with excitement. She hunts Subaru like prey, but Subaru refuses to stop. He clutches Rem protectively, knowing this is his last chance to save her, Petra, Frederica, and Beatrice. As he races through the east wing, a loud crash shakes the structure. Part of the burning ceiling collapses. Elsa lunges toward him through the flames, her dagger raised to slice through his throat. But Garfiel appears just in time, leaping between them with a roar. His beast form tears through the burning debris as he clashes with Elsa in a violent whirlwind of claws, fangs, steel, and blood. Their battle is savage. Each blow threatens to tear the mansion apart. Elsa laughs wildly as Garfiel's claws shred her flesh, and Garfiel snarls as her blade carves into his skin. Their breaths grow ragged. Blood splashes across the burning walls. This house of memories is collapsing around them as the two monsters fight to the death. While Garfiel stalls Elsa, Subaru reaches the forbidden archive. He slams his fist against the door, calling Beatrice's name with everything he has. She hesitates the 400 years she has spent waiting, agonizing, and fearing her own choices cling tightly to her heart. But this time, something in Subaru's voice breaks through. She opens the door. The moment Subaru stumbles inside, clutching Rem's body, Beatrice's eyes widen. The sight of Subaru bloodied, burned, shaking, yet still fighting strikes something deep in her soul. She steps toward him with trembling hands. Subaru collapses to the floor, gasping for breath. Beatrice kneels beside him and touches his cheek gently, as if confirming he is real. She asks him the question that has imprisoned her for centuries. Are you the one meant to take me out of here? Subaru meets her gaze, filled not with destiny or prophecy, but with pure human determination. He tells her that he wants her not because a book chose him, not because fate demands it, but because she deserves to be chosen by someone. For the first time in her long life, Beatrice feels seen. Not as a guardian, not as a tool, not as a child bound by echidna's orders, but as Beatrice. Her eyes fill with trembling emotion. She drops her gospel to the floor, letting go of the promise that never truly existed. Then, with tears in her voice, she says she will choose Subaru. But before she can take another breath, Elsa arrives at the door, tearing the mansion apart to reach them. Subaru and Beatrice stand back to back as the flames rise around them. There is no time left. Subaru places all his trust in Beatrice. And for the first time, Beatrice places all her power into Subaru's hands. Together, they leap into the unknown as the archive collapses. Beatrice's magic tears open space itself. and the three Subaru, Beatrice, and Rem disappear in a burst of blinding light. The world violently twists as Beatrice's magic tears reality open. Subaru feels the ground vanish beneath his feet, Rem's weight in his arms, and Beatrice's tiny hand gripping the back of his coat with trembling desperation. A single heartbeat later, the burning mansion disappears, replaced by a blinding white world of snow and wind. The force of this teleportation throws Subaru forward and crashes into the frozen earth, clutching Rem tightly to protect her. The cold slams into him instantly. The air bites his face, and the wind howls around them. But they are alive. Subaru groans, rolling to his side, then looks up and sees Beatrice staggering to her feet. She is exhausted, breathing heavily, her mana nearly spent from the enormous teleportation spell. But she is alive too, and that alone fills Subaru with relief so powerful that he almost cries. But their moment of relief is brief. From beyond the snowy plain, a faint rumble begins to rise. Subaru's eyes widen. He knows that sound. He has heard it in countless failed loops, each one ending in overwhelming, gnawing death. The great rabbit swarm is approaching a tide of demon beasts whose hunger cannot be satisfied, whose numbers cannot be counted, whose instinct is to devour everything that lives. In his past loops, this sound always marked the end. But not this time. Subaru forces himself to stand, even though his body is barely holding together. Beatrice senses the danger as well. Her expression tightens, but she does not step away from him. Rem remains unconscious in Subaru's arms, her face peaceful despite the storm around them. Subaru moves toward Beatrice, who races through the snow toward him at full speed, answering Subaru's unspoken call. Her scales are dusted with frost, but her eyes shine with relief upon finding him. Subaru lifts Rem onto Beatrice's back and tells Beatrice they need to lure the entire swarm together. He remembers the witch Echidna's lesson. The great rabbit can only be defeated if every last one of them is annihilated in a single instant. If even a single rabbit escapes, they will multiply endlessly in return. Beatrice nods slowly, her breath shaky. Subaru tells her that she is the only one who can unleash the magic needed to erase them completely. She does not boast or argue. She simply accepts this, because Subaru believes in her. The swarm begins to appear over the snowy horizon, thousands upon thousands of tiny white forms with glowing red eyes and twisted mouths. The creatures hop forward as a single monstrous tide, faster than any normal animal, driven by a hunger that never ceases. Their squeals echo through the frozen air like a chorus of nightmares. Subaru's heart pounds wildly, but he does not falter. He screams at the rabbits, taunting them, waving his arms, forcing their attention onto himself. Beatrice stands beside him. Nightmares. Subaru's heart pounds wildly, but he does not falter. He screams at the rabbits, taunting them, waving his arms, forcing their attention onto himself. Beatrice stands beside him, gathering mana into her hands. The snow begins to vibrate under the pressure of the enormous spell forming around her. Her golden drill-shaped twin tails flutter violently in the rising wind. The rabbits respond instantly to Subaru's voice, changing direction with terrifying coordination. The entire swarm turns toward them. Red eyes fill the whiteness. Subaru shouts again and again, holding his ground no matter how violently his legs shake. The horde rushes toward them like a living storm. Beatrice whispers, "Subaru." Her small fingers brush against his hand. She doesn't need to say more. Subaru squeezes her hand back. "I'm right here." The rabbits close in a wall of white fur and snapping fangs. Beatrice raises her hand. The world erupts. A golden sun of pure mana blossoms from her palm, expanding outward in a blinding explosion. Light tears across the frozen plains, consuming everything in its path. The great rabbits swarm, every single creature is swallowed by the radiance, their shrill cries extinguished in an instant. Snow melts, ice shatters. The storm is silenced. When the light fades, the entire plain is empty. Not a single rabbit remains. Subaru collapses onto his knees, panting, overwhelmed by the sight. He can barely process the absence of death, the absence of fear. The great rabbit, the monster that ended countless loops, has finally been wiped out. Beatrice sways where she stands, drained beyond exhaustion. Subaru quickly reaches for her before she falls. She leans into his arms, trembling and pale, but smiling through her tears. It is a small, fragile smile, but it carries 400 years of loneliness finally breaking apart. Subaru holds her tightly. He murmurs that she did it, that she saved everyone, that she saved him. Beatrice buries her face in his shoulder, trying to hide her sobs, but her voice cracks anyway as she tries to tell him she only succeeded because he was with her. Beatrice approaches slowly, nudging Subaru's shoulder gently. Rem lies safely on her back, untouched by the chaos. Subaru strokes her cheek softly, whispering a promise that he will continue fighting for her too. The storm clears. The moon shines down. For the first time in Subaru's entire struggle through the sanctuary loops, he stands victorious over every enemy. They survived the mansion. They saved Rem. They defeated Elsa. They annihilated the great rabbit. The night is quiet. It feels unreal. Beatrice tightens her grip on his coat slightly, as if afraid this peace will vanish if she loosens her hold. Subaru whispers to her that he won't go anywhere. And for the first time in 400 years, Beatrice believes it. Soon, a faint light appears through the snow, the lanterns of the sanctuary. Subaru lifts Beatrice gently onto Beatrice's back beside Rem and begins walking toward home with trembling but determined steps. He carries no regret, only the promise of a new tomorrow. The moon hangs quietly over the sanctuary as Subaru trudges through the snow, his body screaming with every step. Beatrice follows closely behind, carrying Beatrice and Rem with careful gentleness. The air is cold, but nothing like the storm that raged before. The darkness feels calmer now, no longer suffocating, as if the entire land is finally taking its first real breath after years of fear. As Subaru approaches the central clearing near the tomb, he sees figures waiting. The lanterns flicker against the dim white snow, revealing Garfiel and Otto standing at the front, their expressions tense and anxious. Behind them, the villagers watch with wary eyes, praying that the people they depended on return safely from the battles outside. The moment Garfiel sees Subaru limping toward them, he freezes completely. His golden eyes widen, and for a second he looks like a child seeing a miracle in front of him. Then with a shaky breath, the fierce shield of the sanctuary relaxes his shoulders and grins broadly. Subaru barely has time to wave before Garfiel charges forward, skidding to a halt just inches away so he doesn't accidentally bowl Subaru over. His eyes dart between Subaru, Beatrice, and Rem. When he sees Rem breathing softly, unharmed, something trembles in his chest. Otto arrives next, out of breath, looking as if he wants to scold Subaru for scaring everyone half to death, but cannot form the words. Instead, he mutters something about irresponsible heroism, while wiping tears he pretends are caused by the cold. Subaru tries to reassure them both, telling them the great rabbit has been defeated. The words sound almost unreal even to him, but Garfiel and Otto understand the weight instantly. Otto covers his mouth in shock. Garfiel nearly drops into the snow as he mutters that Subaru has done something impossible again, something insane, something no one could even dream of accomplishing. Subaru chuckles weakly and admits that this time, he did not do it alone. Beatrice slides down from Beatrice with Subaru's help. She looks pale and drained, but her chin lifts proudly as she confirms the great rabbit's annihilation. The villagers gasp. Some cry. Others fall to their knees. 400 years of fear, destruction, and legend end in one night. Emilia steps forward from the crowd, her eyes wide and shimmering. When she sees Subaru clearly, alive and standing, her expression melts into pure relief. She rushes toward him and embraces him tightly, burying her face in his shoulder. The warmth of her arms almost makes Subaru collapse from sheer exhaustion, but he steadies himself and holds her just as tightly. For a moment, they don't speak. The world feels still. The pain, the fear, and the hopelessness of countless loops finally begin to fade. But that peace shatters when Emilia suddenly senses something in the forest. Her expression sharpens. She steps away from Subaru and looks toward the sloping entrance of the sanctuary, her breath misting sharply in the cold. Demon beasts. The creatures drawn by Roswaal's blizzard are approaching. This time, one of them, a white palm-sized rabbit with glowing red eyes, leaps out of the shadows, a survivor of the broken hive instinct. But Emilia reacts instantly. She thrusts her hand forward, and with a burst of snow and ice, she freezes the creature mid-air before it can reach anyone. The villagers recoil, but Emilia stands firm. Her control is perfect. Her fear is gone. But Subaru's attention shifts. He sees two figures at the forest's edge. Roswaal is kneeling in the snow, holding Ram in his arms. Ram's body looks fragile, and she is unconscious, her breath shallow. Roswaal himself looks broken not from physical wounds, but from something far deeper. His makeup is smeared, his hair is disheveled, his face is drawn tight with despair. His mismatched eyes stare blankly at Ram's face as if she is the last thing anchoring him to the world. Emilia approaches them quickly, her concern overriding everything else. She kneels beside Ram and checks her condition. Ram is alive, barely kept that way only because Roswaal had been pouring his own mana into her to sustain her life. Emilia realizes the truth instantly. Roswaal saved Ram, even while believing everything was lost. She tells Roswaal to come with them, to bring Ram to safety inside the tomb where she can be treated. But Roswaal doesn't move. His voice is thin and weak as he whispers, "It's fine." The words drift away on the cold wind, barely audible. But Emilia hears them, and in that moment, something inside her ignites. She grabs Roswaal by the collar and pulls him close, her violet eyes blazing with fury and heartbreak. She screams at him not with cruelty, but with raw emotion. How dare he say it's fine? How dare he give up? How dare he decide everything is hopeless on his own? She tells him that she saw her past, her possible futures, the happy ones and the miserable ones, and she still chose to walk forward. She tells him that even if he feels broken, he does not have the right to abandon himself, or Ram, or anyone else. Her voice shakes with anger. Her breath trembles not with fear, but with determination. She refuses to let him surrender. She forces him to look into her eyes and listen to her voice. Roswaal, stunned, blinks as if he's never seen her before. Subaru feels a strange ache in his chest, watching Emilia stand so fiercely. She is no longer the girl who needed protecting. She is standing as someone who protects others now. Emilia lifts Roswaal to his feet and orders Garfiel and Otto to help carry Ram. Garfiel hesitates only a moment before gently lifting Ram, his expression tight with worry. Roswaal remains frozen, emotionally overwhelmed, unable to understand how Emilia can still reach out to him after everything he did. As they move toward the tomb, another explosion sounds deeper in the forest. More demon beasts approach. Emilia whirls and freezes another rabbit mid-attack without hesitation. Subaru steps up beside her instinctively. The villagers huddle closer, fear rising again. But this time, Emilia does not falter. She steps forward with icy determination. She has overcome her past. She has seen her futures. And she refuses to lose anyone anymore. The final battle for the sanctuary. The last trial of Arc 4 is about to begin. As Subaru, Emilia, Beatrice, Garfiel, Otto, and the remaining villagers retreat toward the tomb, the forest behind them trembles again. Snow shifts violently as more demon beasts burst from the darkness. Emilia immediately steps forward, raising a hand as silver blue mana spirals around her. Her expression holds no fear now, only fierce resolve. She unleashes a wave of ice that expands like a glacial storm, freezing dozens of beasts in place before they can even leap. Subaru watches her with awe. The Emilia before him is nothing like the frightened girl who once trembled inside the tomb. She has accepted her past, embraced her future, and now stands as the pillar of the sanctuary. Every step she takes forward feels like she is rewriting her own destiny, shedding the last chains left behind from the Elia forest. Behind Subaru, Roswaal stumbles weakly after Garfiel, who carries Rom carefully in his arms. Rom's skin is pale, almost translucent, and her breath is faint. Subaru can feel the desperation in Roswaal's movements. Despite everything he has done, despite centuries of plotting and manipulation, he is holding onto Ram with a pure, vulnerable fear of losing the one person who stayed by his side genuinely. When Ram stirs faintly, Roswaal's trembling voice calls her name, but she gives no answer. Subaru urges them to move faster. The demon beasts are multiplying and closing in. Otto coordinates the villagers into the tomb for shelter, while Garfield stops near the entrance, carefully laying Ram against the stone to avoid jarring her fragile body. Roswaal falls to his knees beside her, clutching her hand with both of his own, whispering apologies so quietly the wind nearly swallows his voice. Emilia glances back at him after freezing another wave of demon beasts. Her eyes narrow with something harsher than anger-disappointment. She steps in front of Roswaal and tells him sharply that if he truly regrets what he did, he must prove it by fighting to save Ram's life. She tells him she no longer wants to hear him moan about fate or hopelessness. Whatever darkness he clings to, it has no place here anymore. Roswaal looks at her with dazed confusion. No one has spoken to him like this before. For the first time in centuries, someone he once thought beneath him now stands above him, pushing him forward instead of letting him sink. His body shakes. Emilia doesn't wait for a response. She turns away again to face the incoming horde, her voice steady as she calls Subaru to her side. Subaru moves instantly. Beatrice follows, clutching his sleeve and raising her hand to prepare a defense spell. A line of demon beasts leaps toward them, jaws open, but Beatrice's magic tears the air apart, blasting them back in smoking heaps. Subaru charges forward with her, determined to protect the villagers, while Emilia unleashes her full power. Garfiel joins them a heartbeat later, transforming into his half-beast form and shredding through the beast with sheer brute strength. His claws slice through fur and bone, his jaws clamp down on demon beasts that try to flank them, and his feet dig deeply into the snow with each impact. Every blow he lands is fueled by the promise he made to protect the family he's chosen. Together, the three form a living shield in front of the tomb entrance. But the demon beasts multiply. They do not stop. The snow shakes, the forest groans. Packs of wolves, boars, fanged husks, and mutated beasts flood the clearing, each drawn by the lingering energy of the blizzard Roswaal cast earlier. Subaru feels his pulse quicken. Even with their combined strength, they cannot hold out forever. Emilia senses this as well. She summons a massive pillar of ice and slams it into the ground, freezing the entire field in a single sweep. Frost blossoms outward like white fire. Beasts howl as their limbs turn to crystal. The world cracks with ice. But the strain of such overwhelming magic causes Emilia to falter for just a moment, and Subaru catches her arm. She steadies herself, smiling weakly, insisting she's fine. Subaru doesn't let go of her until she fully regains balance. The closeness lasts only seconds, but it reassures them both. Behind them, Roswaal finally lifts his head. His painted eye and his normal eye reflect pure turmoil. Ram lies unconscious, her life slipping away slowly. He understands that if he does nothing, he will lose her. His vow to Subaru earlier still binds him. He will no longer walk the path of destruction, but he has yet to prove that he can walk forward at all. He looks up and sees Emilia fighting, Subaru shouting orders, Beatrice blasting fairy menace shields into the snow, and Garfiel cutting down monsters with reckless ferocity. All of them are fighting not for a prophecy, not for a book, not for the past, but simply for each other. Roswaal clenches his teeth. For the first time in centuries, he moves for the sake of someone other than himself. He gathers mana into his trembling fingers and hurls a barrage of magical flame into the pack of demon beasts trying to overwhelm Subaru from behind. The explosion of purple fire lights the sky above the sanctuary. Subaru glances back in shock. Roswaal stands unsteady, gasping for breath, his hair whipping wildly in the heat of his own spell. He mutters hoarsely that this time he will fight with them, not against them. Emilia nods at him, a brief, intense acknowledgement. before turning back to the battlefield. With Roswaal joining the defense, the tides shift. His destructive magic tears through entire lines of beasts. Garfiel's fangs shred the survivors. Beatrice unleashes spirals of condensed mana that rip apart anything that slips through. Subaru works tirelessly to warn them of incoming threats, rescuing villagers when cracks in the tomb walls appear, and breaking paths through the beasts with improvised weapons. Finally, the horde begins to thin. The forest grows quiet again. Garfiel slams his fist into the snow, breathing hard. Beatrice leans into Subaru's side, drained but still conscious. Emilia kneels in the snow, gasping for air, her body trembling from the sheer amount of magic she used. Subaru immediately moves to support her. The moment the battlefield falls silent, Subaru hears Roswaal cry out behind them. "Ram! Ram! Please!" Subaru, Emilia, and Garfiel rush to him. Ram's breathing is faint, barely there. The wound she suffered earlier is worsening, despite Roswaal's mana sustaining her temporarily. Beatrice hurries over and checks Ram's condition, her small hands glowing faintly with diagnostic magic. After a long moment, she clicks her tongue in frustration. She says Ram can survive, but Roswaal can no longer support her with his own life force as he is pushing himself past his limit. Emilia kneels beside Roswaal and gently places her hand over Ram's chest. Her magic flows softly, carefully, like a mother soothing a wounded child. Slowly, Ram's breathing steadies. Her face gains a bit of color. The strain slips from Roswaal's body with a shaking sigh. He looks at Emilia as though seeing a miracle. She looks back at him, not with hatred, but with quiet, firm strength. She tells him, "If you truly want to repay your sins, then live, and protect, and don't ever let go of the future again." Roswaal bows his head, tears falling silently. The sanctuary, battered and bloodied, is finally safe. The night ends. Slowly, painfully. The wind around the sanctuary quiets down at last. The echoes of the battle fade into distant, trembling silence. The forest, once filled with monstrous howls, now lies still under the cold moonlight. Subaru lets out a long breath he didn't even know he was holding. His legs feel heavy, his arms ache, his lungs burn. But for the first time since arriving in this land of looping tragedy, nothing is chasing him anymore. Garfiel collapses onto the snow, panting, his half-beast form slowly fading. He winces as his claws retract and his hair settles back into its usual wild shape. Otto rushes to his side with a frantic expression, checking him for wounds. Garfiel tries to brush him off with his usual bravado, but Otto simply keeps fussing. Subaru can't help but smile faintly at their bickering. Even chaos seems softer between the two of them. Beatrice leans heavily against Subaru's side, her small hand gripping the fabric of his sleeve as if anchoring herself. Her mana is almost fully drained from the enormous spell she cast, yet the determination in her eyes has not faded. Subaru gently lifts her into his arms, and though she mutters that she is not a child, her voice is too tired to convince anyone. She rests her head against his chest, clutching his coat weakly but contentedly. Emilia kneels beside Ram and Roswaal. The gentle glow of healing magic fades from her palms as Ram's breathing grows more stable. The color in her cheeks gradually returns, and the tightness in her expression loosens. Emilia keeps her hand placed over Ram's until she is completely sure the worst is past. Roswaal has not moved. He sits beside Ram in stunned silence, his painted features wiped away by snow and tears. His eyes tremble as he watches the woman he nearly destroyed by his own stubborn devotion slowly regain life. Subaru watches him quietly. There is no triumph in Roswaal's breakdown, only the weight of centuries of self-inflicted suffering collapsing all at once. Ram stirs faintly, her eyelashes fluttering. Roswaal inhales sharply. When her eyes open halfway, she sees him kneeling there, his face streaked with grief and guilt. Ram gazes at him for a long moment, neither tender nor cold, simply honest. She whispers that he is pathetic, her voice weak but steady. Roswaal presses his hand over his mouth, a sob escaping him. Emilia stays close, watching the two with a complicated softness. Ram then shifts her gaze towards Subaru, Emilia, and Beatrice. She sees the exhaustion in Subaru's eyes, the strain in Emilia's posture, and the faint trembling of Beatrice's hands. For the first time since the battle, a faint, approving smile touches her lips. She tells Subaru he has done well, unusually well, for someone who usually struggles so much. Subaru feels his chest tighten, not with embarrassment, but with something warm and grateful. They begin moving everyone into the tomb for safety. Garfiel carries Rom with careful reverence, despite her weak insistence that she can walk. Roswaal walks alongside them, but does not dare to touch her, afraid his hands are unworthy. Otto supports Emilia when she stumbles, though she insists she is fine. Subaru keeps Beatrice close, worried over how drained she is, but she simply mumbles that this is what a spirit does for her contractor. Inside the tomb, the temperature stabilizes. Emilia prepares blankets and warm water for everyone. Garfiel sits at the entrance, guarding them even though the danger has mostly passed. Otto begins checking supplies with trembling hands, relief making him almost dizzy. Subaru sits down with Beatrice resting against him, her tiny body warm and fragile in his arms. Roswaal kneels beside Rom again, unable to stop watching her breathing. He has already removed his dripping gloves and wiped away the smeared makeup from his face. His mismatched eyes stare at her with a raw tenderness he no longer tries to hide. Ram reaches up weakly and touches his cheek. She tells him that she despises pathetic men, but seeing Roswaal finally break free of his obsession makes her feel strangely relieved. He lowers his forehead to her hand, unable to speak, as tears fall silently onto her blanket. Emilia approaches quietly. She kneels beside Roswaal and Ram and speaks with a calm voice. Firm, not accusing. She tells Roswaal that his choices nearly destroyed everything she cared about, and she won't forgive that easily. But she also tells him that she can see clearly he is trying now. That alone is enough for her to let him stand beside them, so long as he walks forward instead of backward. Roswaal looks up at her with stunned gratitude, as though hearing something impossible. Emilia turns to Ram and promises she will help care for her until she is fully recovered. Ram stares at Emilia a moment, then nods slowly. Subaru watches all of this from across the tomb, his chest swelling with pride. The girl who once struggled to hold herself together is now guiding others. Even the man who controlled all their miseries now sits quietly at her feet. Emilia is not the same person who entered the trials. She has become someone stronger, wiser, and unshakably kind. Finally, Emilia returns to Subaru's side. She kneels down next to him and Beatrice. Subaru shifts slightly to make room for her. Emilia gently strokes Beatrice's hair, whispering her thanks to the spirit who had protected the sanctuary, saved Subaru, and chosen her own future. Beatrice closes her eyes, leaning into the touch, murmuring faintly that she only did what she wanted to do because she finally could. Subaru laughs softly, touching Beatrice's forehead with his own. Then he turns to Emilia, and in that moment, without speaking, they both understand everything the other has endured to reach this point. The tomb is quiet. Snow falls outside, but it is peaceful now. Everyone breathes. Everyone rests. The sanctuary, after so many deaths, so much fear, so much loss, is finally safe. Yet Subaru knows this is not the end. Arc the fourth of may be closing, but the world outside awaits them. The royal selection still advances. Rem still sleeps, trapped far beyond his reach, and new threats will rise. But for tonight, no one is dying. No one is hurting. No one is alone. They have earned, at last, a moment of warmth, a moment of peace, a moment of hope. Morning arrives slowly over the sanctuary, washing the snowy fields in soft gold. After the long night of terror and fighting, the world feels strangely gentle, as if the land itself is trying to soothe everyone who survived. Subaru awakens inside the tomb with Beatrice still curled against him, her small breasts warm against his chest. His body aches, but for once the pain feels earned, not futile. He lifts his head and sees Emilia sitting close by, watching over everyone with a peaceful smile. Their eyes meet. No words are spoken, yet Subaru feels warmth spread through his chest. She looks stronger than ever, truly reborn. Around them, the atmosphere is calm. Garfiel sleeps near the entrance, snoring lightly, exhausted from the battle. Otto lies sprawled on the ground with documents scattered around him, having worked himself unconscious. Ram is awake now, sitting upright with quiet dignity, though her movements remain weak. Roswaal kneels beside her, but this time there is no madness. No painted mask hiding his intentions, only a man stripped bare of illusions. Emilia rises and walks to Subaru, her steps light but confident. She sits beside him, leaning gently against his shoulder. Subaru feels his face grow warm, but he doesn't move away. They both watch Beatrice sleeping on Subaru's chest, her tiny hand still gripping his coat possessively, even in her dreams. Emilia smiles softly, her eyes full of affection and gratitude. She murmurs that she is glad Beatrice has finally found someone to rely on. Subaru answers in a low voice that he intends to keep being that person always. When everyone finally wakes, Emilia stands in the center of the tomb and addresses the group. Her voice echoes against the stone walls, steady and clear. She speaks of the future, not just hers, but everyone's. The sanctuary is free. The villagers can now choose their lives. And she, Emilia, will move forward toward the royal selection with everything she has learned, everything she regained, and everything she is determined to protect. The villagers gather outside, discussing their paths with Otto's guidance. Some decide to journey beyond the sanctuary to find new homes. Some choose to stay behind and rebuild. And some, uncertain but hopeful, say they want to follow Emilia to the capital when the time comes. Emilia bows deeply to them, thanking each for their strength. Later, Subaru and Roswaal stand alone outside the tomb. The air is cold, but the tension between them is far warmer, heavy, serious, and honest. Roswaal's face is unpainted, showing the true emotions beneath the mask he wore for centuries. He bows deeply to Subaru, not theatrically, not mockingly sincerely. He apologizes for everything: his manipulation, his cruelty, the countless deaths he pushed Subaru toward, and the twisted path he forced Emilia onto. He admits that he expected Subaru to break, to collapse into the same despair Roswaal once drowned in. But Subaru refused. Subaru won. Subaru listens silently. He does not forgive Roswaal easily, because the scars he carries from loop after loop still exist. Yet he also knows this broken man is standing here now because he was finally forced to face the truth. Subaru tells him quietly that the past cannot be undone, but the future can be chosen. If Roswaal truly wants redemption, he must change through actions, not words. The vow he made earlier still binds him. If he ever betrays this new path, he will pay with his life. Roswaal nods, tears forming in his mismatched eyes. For the first time, Subaru sees a man not obsessed with destiny or echidna, but someone who wants to try living with others, not above them. Inside, Emilia helps Ram settle into a more comfortable seat. Garfiel hovers awkwardly nearby, pretending not to be worried but clearly extremely relieved that Ram survived. Ram notices his expression and tells him not to make such a pitiful face if she died. She would haunt him until the end of his days. Garfiel turns bright red and looks away, muttering that he wasn't worried that much. Emilia giggles softly at their exchange. As hours pass, the sanctuary transforms from a battlefield back into a peaceful village. Snow is cleared, broken fences are repaired. Garfiel guides wandering children back to their parents. Otto negotiates supplies from neighboring regions. Emilia speaks with each villager individually, asking their wishes and offering her support. Subaru watches her with pure admiration. This is what she has always wanted: not to be feared, not to be pitied, but to stand beside people as an equal. Eventually, Subaru approaches her. Emilia turns toward him, smiling brightly. She tells him she's made a decision. They will leave for the capital soon. The royal selection awaits, and she cannot delay any longer. But this time, she will go not as a fragile candidate, but as someone ready to fight for her place in the world. Subaru nods with determination. He will walk with her not because he has to, not because fate forced him, but because he chooses to. Beatrice approaches next, tugging on Subaru's sleeve and declaring she refuses to be left behind. Subaru pats her head and assures her she's coming too. She crosses her arms proudly but blushes faintly when Emilia hugs her tightly in gratitude. As the sun begins to set, everyone gathers one final time at the center of the sanctuary. Emilia stands at the front, Subaru at her right, Beatrice at his side, Garfiel griping at Otto, Ram resting beside a quiet Roswaal. Together they look upon a land that was once a prison, now liberated. Emilia steps forward and touches the final remnants of the barrier stone. It crumbles gently under her hand, turning into sparkling dust carried away by the wind. The last symbol of the sanctuary's suffering dissolves into the open sky. Subaru watches her, his heart overflowing with something he cannot name. The sanctuary arc, filled with death, suffering, heartbreak, and growth, finally come to an end. A new chapter awaits them. A journey to the capital. A step toward becoming king. A fight to wake Rem. A future none of them have seen before. And so, with the snow gently falling behind them, Subaru, Emilia, Beatrice, and their companions begin walking forward. Not bound by fate, not haunted by the past, but free,